Hello, doers. My name is Jose Ignacio, and today we're exploring a real world example of how Odoo brings it all together on the front and behind the scenes. Let me introduce you to Constru Power, a renovation and construction company that specializes in transforming office spaces for businesses. Their workflow is a little unique. They estimate costs up front with a quotation, but the final invoice is based on actual hours worked and materials that are used throughout the project. From the salesperson drafting the initial quote to the renovation crew on site to even the project manager finalizing monthly invoices, Constru Power uses Odoo to keep everyone connected and, of course, on track. In fact, it all begins with a contract that outlines the agreed upon pricing structure, materials, hourly rates, and those hourly rates will actually change for different roles, workers, subcontractors, and honestly, a lot to list. Now, once the customer signs off on the project, it's time to bring their vision to life. Blueprints are prepared, schedules are set, and the renovation crew rolls up their sleeves. As the work progresses, the project manager tracks the time spent, materials used, and ensures that every detail aligns with the contract. Then, at the end of each month, they generate an invoice that reflects the real work done, not just the initial estimate. And every great project starts with a solid deal, and that happens in the sales department. So, using the sales app, the team creates a quotation to start the project. This document outlines the project scope and expected costs and serves as the first step in locking down the contract. So, enough chit chat. Let's get started. All right, let's get the ball rolling by opening up our sales application over here, and we're going to create a new quotation. Okay, so first I'm going to select our customer. This time it's going to be Deco Addict. We need somebody addicted. All right, so I'm going to begin by adding in our architect product over here. And for this one, I actually want to change something real quick. Our units of measure right now is in hours, and we need it to be in days for this. And I'm going to say that this first task is going to take 2 days. This little hamburger icon allows us to add a description to this so that our customers can know that we're not just putting down all of these different random product lines. So for this one, I'm going to label it as plans for the description. Now we're going to add another one. And this time again, once again, we're doing architect. We're going to change it over to days. And this one, I'm going to say is going to take us 5 days. And it's because this one is going to be work permit. If I can spell properly. We're going to add another one this time around. All right. Once that we're done with the work permit, that one is actually going to be essential. So it's going to take a good bit of time because once that is approved, we can actually start construction. And who's going to work that construction? The workers. Like my label there, also working in days. The first thing that they're going to do is, well, they got to build a foundation, and that's going to take 10 days is what we're going to say. I like that number. Building foundation. All right, perfect. And that's it right there. And the very last thing is one more worker line because we have a foundation and everything below it, but we don't have a roof. So we're going to put roof for this one, and we're going to say it's going to take a total of 3 days. Okay. Can't have a building without a roof, right? By the way, and I always forget about this, if you're managing longer term projects, your units of measure can also be set to weeks or months. Just make sure those UOMs are configured in your database ahead of time. All right, now that our quotation is complete, we're going to send it to the customer by clicking send by email up at the top. And that looks very nice. We're going to hit continue here. And we're all set right there. Boom. Now our quotation is complete. We've hit send and it's off to the customer. So then once that the customer receives it, they can easily confirm the quotation through their own their customer portal. And on the note of a customer portal, portal users as well have access to the projects app, and that's going to be coming up. And if you already have their approval, by the way, the sales team can confirm it directly from here by selecting confirm in the top left corner. And there we go, doers. As soon as the quote is confirmed, Odoo automatically generates a project and related tasks, which you can actually access by using these new smart buttons up at the top. Now that the contract is confirmed, the team can officially start working. I'm actually going to click on our nice little project smart button up at the top just to take us right over there. And look at that. So here's our fresh project, which was automatically created the minute that we confirmed that sales order. And if we take a look at our 4 tasks, They happen to already be in place. Each one reflects the descriptions and durations that we entered inside of our quotes. They happen to be in hours that have been converted from the days that we set in. We have the plans, work permit, building foundation, and roof. Each task card also shows the expected working time, making it easy to track what needs to be done and when it should happen. Since the architect's tasks are top priority, let's give them a little nudge. So I'm going to actually put those with a nice little star icon for that just to prioritize it. So we're going to do that for plans and work permits. Now, if we look at these, let's manage the workflow. Now, since the plans task is currently in progress, we're going to move it over to the in progress column. So the work permit task, meanwhile, is ready, but it still needs to be reviewed, especially to ensure compliance with local codes. Let's stay ahead of things by scheduling a follow-up activity directly from the task. So we could do that by selecting our nice little clock icon, scheduling activity, and now got a nice little pop-up right here. We're going to keep this as a to-do, and for it, I'm going to describe the summary as double check the plan to ensure it's up to code. Then I should probably set a due date to a couple days from now just to give myself a little bit of time. Let's set it for, yeah, let's pick that. That's a good date. We're going to pick, no, I should give myself less time than that. We're going to give ourselves till Monday. That should be enough right there. And finally, we're just going to select schedule. Perfect. Employees can easily log their time while working on their assigned tasks as well, right from the project task itself. Let me show you. I'm going to actually open up this work permit task. Then I'm going to assign it to myself as Mitchell admin right there. Okay, now if we go over to timesheets, I can add a timesheet entry here. And I'm going to put that I spent 24 hours so far. Boom. All right. And we should probably give that a description. We shouldn't just do that. Researched building codes. Now people can know. Okay, let's go ahead and jump back over to our project via the breadcrumbs. So we're going to go back over to our task right there. And you notice that? I'm going to log another timesheet this time for 8 hours with the description drafted plans. But here's the cool part. There's another even more dynamic way to track time using built-in timer. So let's go over to our plans task over here, and I'm going to click on our start button up at the top. We're just going to click it right there. And this launches the timer so I can work without worrying about clocking in manually. Once I'm done, I'll pause it and then stop it. So let's pause and then stop it. And look at that. Let's say that I want to record 15 minutes for a quick code review of that. We can just start typing that in. And then we're just going to select log time. Boom. Just like that. Once we save that, a progress bar has told us, guess what? You spent some time there and there's time remaining that you have right there. And that's pretty useful because it ends up telling us how much time we have and we've allocated certain times and we've already used 2% of that. That's a quick look at how teams use the project application inside of Odoo. And if we go back to tasks, you'll notice you can see that over here with our remaining times that we have. We've already logged in the 24 hours and everything over here. Did the math for us so we didn't have to think about that. Isn't that nice? And the wild part is it's all built in, from prioritizing tasks to logging hours, monitoring task progress, scheduling activities, and even creating or reassigning tasks on the fly. But let's fast forward a bit. It's the end of the month and Constru Power is ready to invoice the customer. That process can get tricky as you need to figure out what's billable, what's already been charged, and how to align it all with project work. But in Odoo, it's pretty smooth and straightforward. So I'm going to head back into the sales application. We're going to click our sales order linked to our project. And if you take a look down below, all the hours that were recorded on the task have automatically updated in our delivered column on each line of the sales order. Since our original quotation used days as the unit of measure, Odoo intelligently converts the hours from our timesheets into days with no manual math needed. Even those 15 minutes have turned into a point 0.3. You notice that nice blue text here also indicates that the quantities are, well, they're ready to be invoiced. Even better, if we need to double check anything, we can quickly access the related project tasks and timesheets right from up above, including our recorded hours that we've already done for this. This makes life so much easier for sales teams, especially when managing multiple projects at once. So, if you don't happen to actually see anything in the delivered column, if you are following along, remember they happen to be timesheets, and sometimes those need to be approved by very specific people. In my case, I did that behind the scenes. Okay, so moving on, let's talk about materials because construction isn't just about labor. Construct Power also needs cement, stuff like wood, and other supplies to get the job done. That's where Odoo's purchase app steps in. Okay, doers, let's open up the purchase application and we're going to select new up at the top. First things first, I'm going to add a vendor. We're going to go with Wood Corner over here. Now, this is actually our first time ordering from Wood Corner, which means Odoo doesn't have any on time delivery data. So, just to be safe, if we want, we could select our Ask Confirmation option over there and set a reminder in the event that we need it. Now, up next, I think it's time for me to select our product. I'm going to select our wood panels, and I'm going to do 30 of them. I don't really know how many go into a house, but once we do that, there's some magic that we need to do. Now, to ensure this purchase is tied directly to the construction project, I need to assign it to the correct analytical account. In fact, it's the same one linked to the sales order that we created earlier. So we're going to click on our analytic distribution column that we have right there. We're going to look for ours. I'm going to type in 39 because that's what I remember for the sales order right there. Perfect. All right. Now that we've got that all set in stone, we're ready to move on. Now, just as a quick heads up, before you can actually use analytic accounts like this, make sure that the feature is activated in your accounting app's configuration settings. And if you're not seeing the actual column that we have, let me stretch it out right there. Remember to click on this nice little dots and you can select it right there. Boom, now it can show up. All right, now that we're all set, I'm actually going to go ahead and send the PO to the vendor by email. So we're going to hit send by email up at the top. And then I think once that we're ready to go, we're just going to hit, oh, actually, would you look at that? It wants us to very quickly save an email up here. We're going to do example at email.com, save and close. Look at that, we send it out. That vendor was so new, we don't actually happen to have information for them. And then we're going to confirm it. So once that's done, our team knows that products are on the way and they're expecting both the delivery and the vendor bill. Odoo makes it easy to manage both right here on the purchase order. Now, let's say that the wood panels have just been delivered. Can happen, right? Well, in that case, we're going to click on Receive Products up at the top, and then we just validate. And all of that, we happen to have our quantities. Boom, delivery confirmed. Now, the vendor's bill has arrived in the accounting department, and as always, it's important to double check everything before proceeding. The first step, recording that new bill. We can do this right from the purchase order if we go back via the breadcrumbs and select our Create Bill button. Or if you prefer, maybe you could switch over to the accounting app and manage it from there. So without further ado, let's switch books. All right, I'm going to stop with a lot of these puns now. You get it, accounting. And we're going to jump into our accounting application. We're going to select vendors up at the top and then bills. Then select new. We're making a new one. We're going to select Wood Corner as our vendor right there. And since we already created a purchase order for them earlier, we don't actually need to enter any of the product details or anything again. We're going to use Odoo's autocomplete feature by selecting our purchase order from there. So the nice thing about that feature is only purchase orders from Wood Corner show up here, making the selection easy with zero human errors. I'm going to go ahead and already verify that this was ours. We got our 30 units. Everything looks good. Our bill is filled in. All we need to do after we're done reviewing it is actually, I want to make a quick note because I'm seeing something. Our analytic account carried over from the sales order and it's already linked. So we know this bill is tied to the right project. Now that that's all set, we're going to set a bill date. We're going to pick today. Then we're already done with everything. We're going to confirm to lock it in. And once the bill is confirmed, we can register the payment to the vendor by clicking. In our case, we're going to select pay. And we're going to create our payment. Just gonna go all manual. Everything looks pretty good right there. All right, now this one happens to be in payment. Okay, so once that we were done creating the payment, it's time for us to finally validate it. So we could just select our payment over here and validate it. And boom, just like that, we're already done. The vendor is paid, the bill is tracked, and everything stays neatly connected inside of Odoo. All right, materials have been delivered. They've been used at the job site and everything's been recorded. So what's next at this point? Well, the big question is what needs to be re-invoiced to the customer. This is where our sales team steps back in to wrap things up. So let's actually jump into our sales application over here. And we're going to open the same sales order that we've been working on this whole time. Because we were smart about linking our purchase order to the sales order using an analytic account, Odoo has actually done the heavy lifting for us. The wood panels that we ordered earlier, as you could tell, well, they're automatically listed on the sales order. No manual updates, no copy paste fuss or anything. And as always, any highlighted in blue means they're ready to be invoiced. With everything in place, including the labor, materials, and other odds and ends, the project manager and the accounting team are purchase complete the final step. So here we go. It's the end of the month and it's time to send the customer a clean, clear invoice for all the work done. We're still inside of our sales application. So from here, we're going to select to invoice and then orders to invoice. Perfect. We're going to find our sales order and then select our nice little checkbox right there. And would you look at that? We have a very easy option now. We just select create invoices. And then we're going to create our invoice right now. And would you look at that? We're going to hit confirm over here. And Odoo has generated the invoice for us. Now, everything marked as delivered, whether hours worked or materials consumed, is actually pulled in automatically. It took just a few seconds to create a clean, professional invoice, and now we can finalize it. We could send this out. We could print it if we needed to as well. We could just send it out by email or by post if we would like to. We can even adjust our format. But as you can tell, I sent everything out and boom, done. This entire workflow from the quotations, the invoices, the project planning and purchasing, even the timesheets, all of that was pretty easy and streamlined. So the big question I know you're asking yourselves is how did Odoo manage to do all of that? And it felt so easy. Well, a few key settings behind the scenes make this entire flow possible. Let's peek under the hood and explore how Constru Power configured their database to automate and even streamline their operations. So let's actually head on over to our products menu. Actually, we're going to go over and head into inventory to do this first. We're going to select products and then products. We're going to get rid of that nice little goods filter up at the top. And let's open up architect. Okay. So since Constru Power pays their architects by the hour, they've set the product type over here as a service. And because they need to track the time worked, the service is configured to be tracked by, in our case, it's based on timesheets for our invoicing policy. And whenever an order is created that happens to have this product, we happen to have a project and a task created. And as you recall, we even had our project template set up over here. This meant that every single time a sales order is confirmed, a project is created that follows the structure of our predefined renovation project template. So that team starts off with the right tasks already in place. This is useful if you have separate teams that could work on different projects. Maybe you have a team that works on pools and another one that's only working on houses, fences, the list goes on. And here's the best part. Because we're using timesheets, the customer is invoiced based on the actual time logged to each task, as you could tell, based on the timesheets. Now, let's actually examine a physical item. But actually, before we go ahead and head on over there, I want to make a quick note that in these types of areas, when you have things like services that you need to plan, you have an option for that as well. More on that in a separate video. Now let's go back to products and let's look at our wood panel. I'm going to show you how to make all the big bucks. Now, since wood panels are a physical good that gets stored and used on site, we happen to have our goods product type toggled, and we track our inventory by quantity over here. And because we want to pass the cost on to the customer, if you go over to our sales, you'll notice we have expense re-invoice cost set to sales price. And that's our useful tip that I'm going to talk about. Construe Power doesn't charge the customer what they paid for it. We could do that at cost by selecting it, but who wants to do that? This is America. They sell it at a markup. So if we go back over here in general, you'll notice our cost is $5 per unit. We're selling it at $10. We're making 50% back on each of these, as you could tell, by using the sales price. Also, because the customer isn't ordering this themselves, we invoice them for the delivered quantity as well, the amount that was actually used rather than the amount originally ordered. And that changes things, as you can tell over here, for our invoicing policy. Why do we do that? Well, we don't want to charge them if we ordered 100 pieces of wood for any of those purchase orders. And finally, let's not forget the secret sauce that ties sales and purchases together: analytic accounts, as you've been seeing. So, to enable that connection, we need to make sure analytic accounting is activated in the accounting settings. So, let's go out of here, open up our accounting application, configuration, and settings. We're going to search because my hands are tired. Make sure analytic accounting is toggled right there. And then once you do that, you'll be able to link purchase orders directly to sales orders. And that will help you a lot, trust me. That's it. That's how Construe Power runs an entire construction project, from quoting and contracting to project tracking, purchasing, timesheets, billing, and final invoicing, all within Odoo. I know these business flows are longer than our normal tutorials, so I appreciate your time and effort in learning more about this alongside me. If you have any questions, drop a comment below. Now, I normally say to go grab a snack, but it's lunchtime, so how about we both go get full meals?